Hey, what's going on, everybody? I just want to take a look at the 10th round game in the candidates tournament between Nepo and Nepomniachtchi, crowd favorite, and also leading the candidates tournament at this time with the white pieces versus Kirill Alekseenko with the black pieces. So let's get right into it without further ado here. All right, this game started off with a C4 from Nepo. English, usually players will adopt this opening because of its flexible nature and to avoid opening preparation by the opponent. Knight f6, g3, e6, bishop g2, d5, knight f3, and now we get into this Catalan position. D takes c4, queen a4 check, knight bd7, and now the pawn is recovered. a6, queen c2, and c5. Now, in this seemingly innocuous looking position, black has to be very careful in order not to get bound up on the queen side. When white wins in these kind of games, usually one of the ways white will win is by constructing various binds on the queen side where the rook or the bishop has trouble. Rook on a8 and the bishop on c8 have trouble developing. As you can see, white's bishop on g2 is very strong here, and often there will be tactics involving move knight e5 with attacks revealed on the b7 pawn. And usually what will happen when things go wrong for black is that black will be trying to very hard in order to organize his defense over there, and pieces will wind up just becoming uncoordinated, and white will be able to take advantage in that matter. And we'll look at just a few sample games to see how black would deal with this. So game continued, knight c3 here. Note that going back a little bit, bishop d7 is also possible here. Bishop d7, and you'll see that played also, whereby the bishop will be able to get out, and this is played a lot also at a grandmaster level, because again, black doesn't want to get his position controlled by the bishop on g2. So what he'll often do is he will bring his bishop out to the c6 square. So he'll delay the development of his knight to d7 in order to just bring that bishop out and oppose the white bishop on g2. So keep that in mind. So for example, in this game, you see here between Aronian with the white pieces and Ding Liren from 2017. Ding Liren played the move bishop d7, attacking the queen. Of course, queen took the pawn, c5, and now knight e5, right? Immediately exploiting the fact that black is not protecting the e5 square. That's the downside of bringing the bishop out first, is that white can unleash the power of his bishop on g2 by playing early knight e5. Notice that knight e5 also prevents the idea of bishop c6, just simply opposing the bishop and trading the bishop on g2 off at the first first opportunity. So queen c8, queen d3, and now knight c6, knight d7. Pieces were traded off, and this game ended in a draw. But notice how much pressure white puts on the queen side. This is basically a major theme in the Catalan and these type of positions in general. But like I said, Ding Liren was able to get his pieces organized, and he was able to obtain a draw in that position, from that position rather, with bishop d7. Another idea that you will see in these positions, besides bishop d7 and knight b to d7, is also c6. The idea here is to, again, of course, threaten to hold on to the C pawn, of course. But the other idea is to gain time by hitting the queen. After all, right, white has violated the tried and true principle, don't bring your queen out too early. So black is going to try to gain time on the queen to alleviate the pressure, by alleviating the pressure on the queen side with the move b5. This happened in the game from 2018 between Aronian again with the white pieces and Karyakin with the black pieces. So queen takes c4 and now b5. Queen b3, bishop b7. And you can see the ideas are similar, that black is just trying to unravel his queen side. You can see d4 again, and with the pressure, with the queen being on b3, making it hard. So black at some point might have to play a move like a6 and then try to work on the c5 break, for example. Game continued. There's 95, d takes, d7, and right here black, of course, putting pressure on the e pawn, protecting his queen, and also hoping at one point to play c5, but these moves must be prepared. Game continued, and now a6, and now black has protected his b pawn, and now he's ready to play c5, which he played on the next move. Bishops came off, and eventually black was able to win this game, utilizing his 3-2 pawn majority on the queen side, and that's something that you should keep in mind in this system also. So, you know, with that said, let's get back to the game. You kind of see what white's trying to do, and you see what black is trying to do. So let's see what happened in the game today. Okay, so knight b d7 was played, and queen takes c4, same thing, and now a6. Same ideas, c5 at some point. Also, c5 can also be played right away. Another option, probably bad option, is move like bishop d6, for example. But anyway, a6 and c5 can be played. Queen c2, queen drops back. Again, in order not to lose time, you know, moves like b5, for example. c5, knight comes out, right? And notice how the queen tucks itself away. The queen is protected. But again, for white, you know, to do all this stuff, it takes time. And with this time, if black uses it correctly, he usually can equalize. Bishop e7. More common seems to be the move queen c7. And right behind that in the database, rook a7 seems to be a bit more preferable than the game continuation of bishop e7. But I must admit, bishop e7 just looks pretty natural. But in these kind of positions, you definitely have to be careful about that bind on the queen side there. In another game from Aronian with the white pieces, this time against Radoslav Wojtaszek with the black pieces, Wojtaszek played this move, queen c7. And again, the idea here is to unravel the queen side, okay? And he leaves a bishop on f8. And one of the reasons is that, you know, bringing the bishop on e7 can be accomplished at any time. There's really no way that white can stop the bishop from coming to e7, and it's primarily a defensive square. It's just developing, right? But black wants to seize the moment here and basically do the things that are most important. Is take care of this critical situation of untangling himself, so to speak, or keeping himself from getting tangled up on the queen side. And that's what this move, queen c7, is about. So castles took place, b6, and you already know what the plan is. Bishop b7. And of course, white is trying to stop that. Aronian played d4, bishop b7. He took, and now the bishop comes out to even a better square. c5, bishop f4, bishop d6. Okay, and black was able to equalize, and black actually went on to win this game after some mistakes by Aronian. But nevertheless, you can see that the opening is successful for black. If black is able to avoid getting bound up like that on the queen side, he usually can do well. And then another plan for white is he'll sometimes attack in the center and on the king side. Game continued a little further, and like I said, eventually black was equalized, as you can see, and then he even went on to win the game, which of course is outside of the scope of this video. So now we're gonna go back to the Nepo game once again. My apologies. Before I forget, let me just briefly show you the idea of the other move I mentioned, which is rook a7. And the idea behind rook a7, of course, is the same thing. We're going to unravel the queen side, but the idea is to put the bishop on b7 and then place the queen on a safe square on a8 and even put more pressure on the diagonal. So in this game from 1995 between two former Soviet grandmasters, and Vaganian with the white pieces and Yusupov with the black pieces, game continued rook a7. Okay, so that moves the rook out of the dangerous diagonal from the bishop on g2, castles, and now b6. You already know what the light square bishop is going for black. d4, bishop b7, e4. So of course there's a price to pay. White of course gains the center. C takes d4, knight takes d4, bishop comes out to c5, rook d1, and you can see the pressure building up on the d file. But since the rook has moved to a7 for black, the queen goes to a8, and notice there's a lot of pressure on e4. If that pawn moves, the bishop on g2 is in serious trouble. Okay, in this game ended up being a draw. So I just wanted to show you that other plan. So you can see besides bishop e7 from black, there's more other moves, queen c7 and rook a7 in that position. So now let's return to the game. Okay, so we've seen that. So we'll go back. Knight c3, bishop e7 was actually played in the game by Alekseenko. Castles, and now d4. C takes d4. And I heard Magnus Carlsen on the stream talking about this line as I was listening here and there, and I don't really think he was a big fan of this move, bishop e7, because the thing is it's passive. The other lines, if you notice, queen c7 and rook a7 deal with the issue at hand, which is this bind that white is trying to set up on the queen side. Bishop e7 is a move that it's almost like you're just playing for development, right? Bishop e7 is not a critical move to make because there's no way that white can stop you from doing it. Your king is not necessarily in danger, so it kind of amounts to a waste of time. If you've been following the other variations I've been showing you, you will notice that often the bishop, the dark square bishop that is on f8, would end up on active square on c5, right? Or d6 or something like that. So if black invests that move, right, in something a little bit more appropriate for the situation, for what, to address white's plan more directly, he will probably do better off. And I think that's what Magnus was saying in a nutshell, right? He said a lot, on the broadcast, but he's not a fan of this move, bishop e7, and neither am I. I mean, especially after seeing this game, I definitely can appreciate queen c7 there, or even rook a7. So d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, And now he plays this idea queen c7. All right. So even at this point, um, just the loss of time is becoming critical. So this move was one of the moves that a little bit criticized. And knight b6, with the idea of coming in to d5 at some point, it'd probably be a little better and more active. So a4, for instance, rook d8, a5, and now the knight comes to d5. Knight takes d5, queens come off the board, and now e takes d5, bishop e3, f4, and knight d4. So black has an isolated pawn here, but the bishop on g2 is blocked, and he has good free piece play. All right, in development. Although I must admit, I do like white here also. So queen c7 was played. Rook came to d1. And now knight b6. I'm sorry, knight b6. I'm bugging. Rook d8 was played. All right. Now Lee Chess is saying that knight b6 is better here. And bishop e3 here. Knight b6. And you can see the typical play. Rooks come to the C and D files. Play looks very simple for white. All right. And more complicated for black here. So e5. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Knight f5. And then just bishop takes f5. So now it just looks like white has just bishop here. And just just better position. The queen on c7 looks very vulnerable all of a sudden. But I can see his idea. Right, trades off. He could rapidly move the rook to c8, and maybe even play knight c4 at some point and get some counterplay. So knight c4 attacking the bishop and the b2 pawn at the same time. What do you know? Bishop g5. Rooks come off. And knight d1. Now there's a pin on the knight on c4. Rook d8. And now definitely at this point, Alekseenko had to get off the same file as the rook. Had to get the queen off the c file. So queen to d8 is definitely superior. And then say bishop takes, and then you can see the culmination of white's objective out of the opening, right, is dominating on the queen side by picking up this pawn. Right, so he's gonna drop the pawn, but you gotta get your queen off of that, out of that situation. Now the queen is lined up on the c file, so there's always tactics that emerge in situations like that and I'm sure most of you know that out there, and have been caught in pins and skewers enough, where your instincts go off when you see situations like this where the queen, and rook are lined up opposed to each other like that with the piece in between. Anyway, continuing after rook d8, bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, bishop e4. Here's another thing, and the last point I want to make about this game. I say this a lot in my other videos, but here's another example. When you have opposite color bishops, they're notoriously drawish in the ending, but they're fantastic in the middle game. The reason why is because it's like playing with the extra piece. In other words, as Nepo starts attacking the black king side with this light square bishop, black doesn't have anything to oppose that, any other bishop to oppose that. So it's kind of like the two bishops are like ships passing in the night. They can't stop each other. However, if you're the side with the initiative, if you're the side that's actually attacking, it's a fantastic situation to have. So remember, opposite color bishops are great in the middle game when conducting attacks. You don't want to be on the defensive side because you can't, it's hard for you to stop the opponent's attack, right? But if you have opposite color bishops and you try to gain the initiative and start attacking your opponent, because it would be very hard for him to withstand that. And you'll see that here. So knight c3. I'm sorry, knight c3. I'm bugging. So queen a5 here. All right. The problem here is, again, if black plays g6, he's just gonna drop the bishop on f6. Okay, so he like strives for some counterplay here. All right. His queen a5, so he says, you know what? Let me get off of this this diagonal. I'm sorry, off the same the c5 with my queen. And now knight c3. King f8. Knight d5. And now the position starting to fall apart. Of course, the knight on c4 is threatened. So b5. Now he takes. Queen takes h7. And now mate is actually threatened because the knight is guarding the e7 square. Rook takes d5. This is why he had to give up the exchange. Bishop takes d5. Queen d2. And you're playing against like a great tactical player here in Nepo. He will not be slowed down by a threat to his rook, and he just gives up the exchange. Rook takes c4. B takes c4. Again, opposite color bishops. It's really hard. You can't stop that bishop if you're black. This is how you're gonna. You have nothing to oppose it. e4 from Nepo. Engine is saying queen h8. But e4 is like completely natural looking move, right? Just solidified. This is like long term stuff right here. You solidifying the bishop. There's nothing that he can do. Queen takes b2, gives up the pawn, and now check. King e7, and now queen c8. And he's starting to close the walls around the king, threatening both the a and c pawns. Queen b6. C pawn drops. And now queen b5. Check. Queen d7. Check again. And now king e8. And black resigned at this point, as it's pretty much a lost cause here. Of course, bishop c6 just wins the queen. Wins the queen there. So maybe that's a transmission error on my part. I think he did king d8, but he still lost at this point anyway. So black resigned. And so let me know what you guys think, man. Like, is Nepo finally ready to take, do you think Nepo has a legit shot at defeating Carlsen, or you think he's he's just gonna go down like the other guys in the past, Kariakin, Fabio, or do you even think Nepo is gonna win this tournament? Right, there's a couple of guys, right, close by. I think it's interesting too that Nepo is friends with Karyakin, so maybe he's getting maybe he'll have some experience handed over to him, to say that to help him out and getting prepared. So I do hope Nepo wins. He's a real exciting player, and it's a fresh face. I do love Fabiano also. So it's kind of like I'm torn, but I'm part of me is like, all right, we seen that match already, that was like a dull, like real kind of dull match, I thought. Anyway, Nepo is like had that dynamic. He's more exciting to me. So and a fresh face. So I would like to see him or Gary. But if I had my choice, I would go with Nepo because Nepo is a little more exciting than Gary is. So anyway, and I think Nepo is more dangerous too, because Nepo could either collapse or he could win. He reminds me of like Ivanchuk in that way. Like he either will collapse or he'll be like unstoppable. So I think those type of players are always like really interesting. So and he's looking in like real good form. He like destroyed Alekseenko here. So anyway, I hope you like that video. Check my channel for the links below. Like, subscribe, all of that stuff. Share the video, what have you. And check my channel. I have like 700 videos on there, whatever. And good content. So if you're serious about chess, not gimmicky content, but good content. Also, chess audiobooks is on Lee chess.com. A lot of cheaters on there, but it's what it is with the engines and all that. I guess they do a good job telling you, like, giving you points back for dudes that cheat. Is crazy. Dudes waste time doing that. But anyway, I'm on Lee chess.com, Twitter, Instagram. All right, so say what's up to me, and get in those comments below. All right, I'll see you guys on the next video.